Namaste, my fellow strikers. Holy Materia here, back with another Shinobi Striker video. Today we're going to be talking about some non-DLC base builds for beginners, so let's get right into it. Okay, so this time we'll start with defense types because base battle is where they shine the most. Because defense types are sort of built for base, there's actually quite a few builds you can run with them even without DLC. For the Ninjutsu, I would go with Sand Shield and Snake Thrust. But there are other options you could use, like you can run Snake Thrust with Subterranean Voyage, so you'll be really tanky and able to stay alive and kind of handle a single base for like pretty much the whole match. Petrified Jutsu works pretty well, even though it doesn't heal you quite as much as it used to, but I would recommend running at least one jutsu that is good for taking bases and one that can heal you. And then for the ultimate, I would just use there's actually quite a few ultimates that work well for defense types on base battle also, but the standard defense type ultimate is pretty good. The Earth Pillar Explosion that knocks everybody away, it comes back really fast, and it's really good at clearing bases. You can run Deep Force Emergence or Grand Sand Mausoleum, or even Super Shark Bomb Jutsu is pretty good, and Water Prison Rosary Bondage. Most of the defense moves are pretty good most of the defense ultimates are good for base battles. So the ultimate is kind of up to you. Just keep in mind that some of them, like Grand Sand Mausoleum, have much longer cooldowns, or it takes a lot longer to charge than some of the easier ones, like Earth Pillar Explosion. For the Ninja Tool, Blast Bombs used to be the go-to, but since they nerfed it, they're not quite as good as they used to be. So, but you could still use them; they're still viable. But I might use something like the Fire Release Scientific Ninja Tool because it's another option that can break Sand Shield and Water Pillar. And for the weapon, I would use the standard weapon, or one that has the same combos, because the triangle button on the ground is really good at clearing bases. As for the clothes, for the top, it's sort of up to you. There's a lot of options, but the one that gives you your ultimate faster is always a good top to go with. But you could also run the one that makes it easier to break people's guards, because on base battles, people are blocking a lot, and since you're going to be using your triangle button very often, kind of like spamming it as a defense type on the bases, it'll be much easier to break people's guard using that. For the bottoms, I would use Clear Mind, the one that brings back or that lowers your ninjutsu cooldown, because your ninjutsu for defense types are going to be really important, like getting your Sand Shield and also your Snake Thrust to not only knock people away from the bases, but to get your health back, because you should be able to kind of self-sustain yourself as a defense type on base battles. And for the accessory, I'd use the one that gives you health back when you get kills, just to make yourself even tankier. Defense types have some really good builds that they can use on base battles. I want to say that the best defense builds are non-DLC for base, the way healers in combat, the best builds are non-DLC, but defense types are the least hampered by not having the DLC on base battles. There's lots of options for defense types here. Okay, so now let's talk about healers. Now, I would say that they're on the opposite end of the spectrum, because they're probably the most hampered by not having the DLC on base battles specifically. So I experimented with a few different builds because I was having a hard time getting wins as a healer without any of the DLC moves. But I found that the Slug Summon is actually really good, or much better than I thought it was. And then I used Air Palm as my second ninjutsu. But there are a few different options. So instead of the Slug, you could use Green Rain Ground Hold, Sarada's Heal, and you could also use Chakra Scalpel instead of the Air Palm, because it serves the same purpose of sealing people's jutsu, which is really good on base battle, because jutsu are so important for trying to take bases and secure bases. And then also you could use it to quickly traverse between bases as a movement ability. You could also use Cherry Blossom Clash or Crimson Drizzle, because those both break guards and Sand Shield and Water Pillar. For the ultimate, I went with Shikamaru's ult, because people are often grouped up on bases, so it works really well to get a lot of people. But there are a couple of different options. You can use the bugs, because they're good when people are grouped up also. Mitotic regeneration is good now, especially with the recent buff, and it's always been kind of good on base battles because this is a game mode where reviving somebody is really, it actually matters a lot more than in combat where you still have a death on your team, so it doesn't really matter so much if someone gets revived. But on base battle, you revive somebody and you still have that person there on the base to help you defend it or to help you capture it. And it's also a global healing, so it's a good way to heal people that are on different bases. And it also has a short charge time, which will go well with the top that we're going to wear later. For the ninja tool, I'd go with the healing seal. I pretty much use the healing seal on every game mode for healers. It's probably the most OP ninja tool in the game. And you could just rely on your teammates to break stuff like water pillar and sand shield. Like that's not really the healer's job, so it's better to have another way to heal your teammates. And then for the weapon, I use Sakura's weapon just because I like it and it has good air mobility, so when you're trying to get from one base to another quickly, it's nice for that. But because of the way the triangle button works with the guard break, you might want to use just the standard healer weapon or one with the same combo, so you can break people's guards quickly while they're on the bases. But I found that the Sakura one is okay still on even when it comes to breaking guards on base, because you can lunge at people from a distance, and sometimes they don't expect to get hit with it like that. As for the clothes, for the top, I would use the one that brings your ultimate back faster. For the bottoms, I would wear either the one that gives you more health or that boosts your health, or the ninjutsu cooldown one, because then it can work in tandem with your air palm that will also give you your other ninjutsu back faster. And for the accessory, it's kind of up to you, but you can use the one that gives you your life back if you get kills, or the one that brings your ninjutsu back faster if your health drops below a certain amount. But like I said in my healer video, my healer guide, this is the one time that I might suggest just using a cast character, because Mei is just so good at base battle. It might just be better to use her than to try to make a non-DLC build for healers. But these work pretty well though, but yeah, it's up to you. Okay, so now let's talk about range types. So for the first ninjutsu, I would use the C2 dragon. That's actually something I run even in my normal builds. But the second ninjutsu is kind of harder to come up with, because I would have suggested Amaterasu before when it used to break sand shield, but now that it doesn't, it's not quite as good. But this is still a good game mode to use Amaterasu, because you can put it on the base and it will just affect everybody that's near the base or that's on the base. But I found that Fireball Jutsu is pretty good on base battles, because it's just a good jutsu and it's easy to use and it knocks people back. The only problem is that you don't have a sand shield or water pillar breaker. So I would suggest using the fire scientific ninja tool, so that you have something that breaks sand shield and water pillar, because that should be one of your functions as a range type on base battles. For the ultimate, I would go with the Susanoo Flame Control. I actually use that even on my normal builds also. It's really good for capturing bases. It usually will clear people out of the area, unless you're playing against some people that are really good. Yeah, so that one is pretty good. And also you can use Datara's clay explosion one. That also will clear people away from the base. But I like to use the Susanoo Flame Control because you're also defended while you're doing it. So yeah, for the ninja tool, I would use the fire release scientific ninja tools to break water pillar and sand shield. I ended up using Sinbun in mine just because I'm so used to using Sinbun. But yeah, they still work okay. You just sometimes have to throw all of them to knock somebody away from the base, but then you don't have anything to break sand shield if you use Sinbun. And then for the weapon, I'd also go with the Kusanagi sword like usual. It's just the best range type weapon. As for the clothes, I would use the top that gives you your ult back faster. And then the bottoms, I would go with the one that boosts your health, because range types have the least health, and you need to be able to survive on base battles so you can hold bases for longer. And then for the accessory, I go with the one that when you get kills, you get your health back, battle hardened, because that one's always really good for range types, since we don't have anything to get our health back. And now on to attack types. So for the ninjutsu, I would run the snake summon. It's pretty good for like annoying people around the base, and it'll keep people off of the base for a while. And you can also put it on top of people, and it will take their ninjutsu away if you hit somebody with it. The same thing goes for the slug summon also. And then for the second ninjutsu, I go with Almighty Push, because that move can break Sand Shield and Water Pillar. For the ultimate, I would use just regular Naruto's Master Rasengan. In the footage here, I was using Boruto's ultimate, but it ended up not being very good. And Naruto's ultimate is really good when people are grouped up in a small area, like on the bases. And it comes back really fast too. For the ninja tool, you can run. It's kind of up to you. I was running the fire ninja tool just to have another Sand Shield Water Pillar breaker, but it's up to you what you run with the attack type. You could still maybe run kunai and just focus on like comboing people and getting kills and stuff, or the explosive kunai or something like that. And then for the weapon, that's kind of up to you too. Like it more has to do with your fighting style. So like if you prefer claws, you can go with those, or you can use the knuckle knives. Like I prefer the knuckle knives just because of the combos. So yeah, but the weapon's sort of up to you though. For the clothes, for the attack type, I would for the top I would use the one that breaks guard faster, because you're going to be attacking people that are on the bases trying to block. So that's probably the best one to have for an attack type. For the bottoms, I'd use the one that boosts your health, and for the assessor, I'd use the one that gives you your health back when you get kills. Attack types are another class that are really hampered by not having the DLC on base battles. So this is another time where it might just be better to use adult Naruto than just trying to make a non-DLC build, because his moves are sort of like made for base battle, because both of his ninjutsu break Water Pillar and Sand Shield. Okay, yeah, that's all I got for this one. I hope this was helpful, because it took me a while to make this video, because I do experiment a lot with different builds, because in base battles a lot of the best jutsu are DLC, so you have to kind of experiment and figure out what works well with you for these base battles with non-DLC builds. But yeah, I hope it was helpful. Thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Everybody stay safe out there. Peace and love.